show about people who help meet needs in our community. I'm your host, Nathan Bynum. Today, we'll be talking about the need for creativity in Arlington and beyond. My guests are Yulia Kriskovets, Chief Operating Officer of Synetic Theater, Kevin Sampson, founder and host of Picture Lock, and Stefanie Fedor, Executive Director of Arlington Arts Center. Welcome to the show, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Great to be here.
All right. So today, of course, we're talking about creativity, and each of you do different forms of creativity, and you spread creativity in our community in different ways. So I'd like to start with you, with Arlington Arts Center. Can you talk a little bit about how your work, Stefanie, with Arlington Arts Center helps spread creativity in our community?
Well, Arlington Arts Center is a 40-year-old visual arts organization, and our mission really is to help regional artists to make and present new work. So we think pretty much everything we do is bringing creativity in Arlington. The second part of our mission is to build a bridge between audience in Arlington and in the region with artists working in the community. So really understanding the need for keeping and retaining artists in Arlington.
Great. So funding artists in their work, allowing them to live in our community, and also connecting the public with the work that the artists produce.
Absolutely. We have 13 artists in residence who are able to keep their studios for 6 years. So we actually have artists working in our building, giving them professional opportunities, giving them a community to work in. We give classes to about 800 Arlington residents throughout the year to learn visual arts, so they also make and present work in our galleries. And then we have an active exhibitions program for regional artists that span from Southern Virginia all the way up through Pennsylvania, and we really encourage those artists to present new work, take risks, and often help them make new work as well.
So really becoming part of the creative process.
Absolutely. We feel like we're right there in the center with them.
Wonderful. And Kevin Sampson with Picture Lock, host and founder of Picture Lock.
Yeah.
Can you talk to us about how that helps spread creativity in our community?
Yeah, definitely. So I started Picture Lock in February of 2013, and at first it was just a website, blog, doing movie reviews, things like that. But then I eventually became a member of the Washington, D.C. Area Film Critics Association, decided to make a TV show out of it. So we do movie reviews of current and past films. And then one of the things that I love about the show is that I'm able to also champion the indie filmmakers. So I have a specific segment that's dedicated to DMV filmmakers, and it's a great opportunity to have them come on the show, talk about their film, and hopefully, allow other people to hear about what they're working on.
That's great. Yeah, as creative people, we want people to see our work because that's
right.
a big part of the purpose of creating it, right?
Right. Yeah, so it's definitely cool because a lot of times, sometimes a filmmaker might be in the midst of a fundraising campaign or something like that, or they just a lot of times maybe their film is showing at West End, so they just want people to come out and check it out. So it's definitely helpful, and it's great to just hear their story, see how they're making their films, and really, as all artists do, struggling to try to make it. So
yeah, absolutely. That's awesome. I'm sure they appreciate the extra publicity as well.
Definitely.
And I know you have a big community that supports the show.
Right.
So linking all those people up so they can have some creative collaboration is also a big service I know you provide.
Yeah, definitely. I think in the DMV, a lot of people don't think of this area as like a bustling hub for film. A lot of times people automatically think LA or New York, but actually in our area, I think we have a lot of talented filmmakers, and so just making sure that everybody's kind of on the same page and talking together and knows what's going on. It's always a great thing.
That's great. So it sounds like both of you guys are involved in the creative process.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And how about you, Yulia, with Synetic Theater? What do you guys do to bring creativity to the Arlington community?
Well, Synetic Theater is a pretty unique theater organization. We've been around this is our 13th season, and we blend multiple art forms together. And one thing that we are very known for is the wordless Shakespeare productions, which is, to some people, sounds sacrilegious, but it's really amazing. And a lot of people, once they experience it, they truly feel that it's a extremely creative way to approach this work, and that makes it accessible and also makes them see things that they didn't see before. Pat and Irina Tsukurishvili, who founded the theater, they hail from the Republic of Georgia, and they bring their own, talent and creativity to the process, but they also created this sort of group of people around themselves that are a community in themselves. Artists, actors, they train new students all the time, and that's been a tremendous process in fostering that creativity around them.
Sure.
And then in addition to that, we present our shows to about 25,000 people annually at our theater in Crystal City.
Wow.
And then we also educate. We educate kids and adults. Anybody from the street can come out and try out our brand of theater. And
if you're watching this show, you could give it a try. Give Wordless Shakespeare a try.
Yeah, get inspired. Yeah, that way. So.
That's wonderful. So you're also involved with presenting and encouraging people to join you in your creative efforts.
So there's always a way to participate.
That's awesome. Wow, Wordless Shakespeare.
Yeah.
I've seen one of the rehearsals because Arlington Independent Media actually went out to cover one of the rehearsals for a class. And it was pretty incredible to see people try to convey the complex stories of Shakespeare without words.
Yeah. And on top of that, they usually add all kinds of other things like new media, like The Tempest was done on the water stage. So there's all kinds of solutions that come into play, and I think creativity is really finding solutions to complex problems. Absolutely. A lot of times.
Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely. So next question is, it's similar, but how do you help people to be creative? We talked a little bit about how you bring creativity and help connect filmmakers with audiences, and how you present to 25,000 people. And how you have the Arts Center, the Arlington Arts Center, where artists can be funded and people can enjoy their work. How do you actually help spark people to be creative, if you feel you do that? Because that's a different question.
At AAC we do, I think, a number of things. Just like Yulia, we offer classes really of anybody of any interest or ability. They can sort of a come where you are, starting at 4 years old, going for forever. That's our age range, is the way I call it.
That's pretty awesome.
And, but also really trying to respond to community interest as well with the types of projects that we present. So 2 summers ago, we presented an exhibition called Green Acres, which was in response to the community here really looking at urban agriculture, and there was a lot of conversation around urban agriculture. So we put a couple of big public art projects on our front lawn, a huge architectural scale topiary that grew gourds on top of it. We had local students help us design it. We also had an artist-designed community garden, and really showing people how in kind of everyday endeavors you can add creativity to aspects of your life. So I think the visual arts and dance, movement, film, all of that is something that brings us all together through a common language, and we really try to respond to what the community's interested in.
It's interesting because you wouldn't think, oh, urban agriculture equals creativity. But having a purpose of sending out a specific message, that does help creativity, because I find a lot of the times when I'm teaching a class, if people are just trying to learn how to be creative, they don't know where to start. But if they have a purpose, then that creates a necessity to be creative.
Yeah, we really believe in teaching art. It's just starting where you are, you know, and that anybody can access it. And I think that that's really important to us at the Arlington Art Center, that it is not, contemporary art is not necessarily a lofty idea, but it really is for everybody, and it's really responsive to what people are interested in.
Yeah.
It might be a little bit more cutting edge. It might not be, everything we present might not be for everybody, but we really do like to engage the community with idea making and actual hands-on making.
Right. Yeah, I like how the word community keeps coming up as well.
That is who we are at AAC.
Filling a community need, right? And creativity does fill community needs. And how about with Picture Lock?
You know, I don't think mine might be the standard or, usual way of sparking that creativity. I think as artists...
You mean there's a standard in creativity?
I guess not. But as artists, you know, a lot of times we're sensitive about our art, right? And so as a critic, I think that those that are brave enough to allow me to critique their independent films, I've studied film enough where, you know, I'm not like the greatest critic ever, but I've gone to school for this. I know what to look for. And so by giving that constructive feedback, I definitely think that the next time, you know, that filmmaker can try to think about going, instead of, you know, filming it this way, let's think about doing all in one take, you know, or something like that. And so it's really cool because sometimes there are those filmmakers that do approach me and say, hey, can you, you know, critique this film and don't hold back, like give the honest truth, because that's the only way that, you know, I'm going to be able to get better. So that part is pretty fun.
Yeah, I love how you call that bravery. I mean, it takes bravery to put your work out there.
Right.
But to say, critique my work on your show, that's a whole other step of bravery.
Yeah, definitely.
Although you are a pretty nice guy, but I'm sure you're honest as well.
Yeah. I mean, I try to have critic integrity, you know, so I'm not going to hold back. If you want to know the truth, then I'm going to give you the truth. But at the same time, I think that makes us better for it, right? That it helps improve our art. Whenever we get a review or someone says, hey, even for my show, if somebody says, you know, you spoke a little too fast, I really didn't understand what you were saying. Okay, next time, take it a little slower, and then it's that much better, so.
Yeah, I remember for my whole first show, I was going like this, and someone said I looked like a hunchback. You know? So that was helpful.
Now you're sitting up.
Now I probably look like I got a rod in my back. Who knows? But yeah, creativity is about overcoming challenges.
Definitely.
And part of fostering creativity is challenging people.
Yeah.
Absolutely. How about at Synetic? How do you...
Well, I think inclusiveness and collaboration are sort of the keystones of how Synetic process works, because it's an extremely long process usually. It's 2.5 months to 3 months because of the way, you know, you need to create and hash out all the scenes on stage to make them crystal clear to the audience and you know, come up with all these ideas. It's very important that everybody participates, including actors. And we've sort of done a very interesting experiment this season. Our new show, The Island of Dr. Moreau, we have usually large casts, so, you know, 14 to 16 people. And for this show, we created a full cast of understudies, which doubles the cast, but it brought a lot of new energy, a lot of fresh energy from people who were coming in, and they all felt welcome, and even though they were just starting with Synetic, learning the vocabulary and such. So that was a really great experience, and I think it's going to be a great show.
Wow.
We'll see, yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm interested to hear about the collaboration that happens, because sometimes when I think of plays being put on, I think of the director telling the actors what to do. And I think I just heard you say that the actors are involved in creating the movements as well.
Yeah, it doesn't really work that way at Synetic, just due to the nature of ensemble being the key. It's as important. There's no really individual actors. I mean, there are roles, but they all work together as ensemble. And a lot of times there's group choreographies, group fights, things like that, where they really need to rely on each other. And a lot of times the director and choreographer, they do set up, you know, Pari and Irina, they have, you know, great ideas. They come up with the ideas and the concepts. But a lot of times the team comes up with the new ideas, tries out new things and experiments with things. So without that part, I don't think the shows would be what they are now.
Right, absolutely.
Yeah.
Creativity's about mixing a lot of different points of view and coming up with something that's beyond any one person.
Yeah, it's like Synetic is synergy, you know.
Ah.
Or actually, Synetic is a combination of two words, synthesis and kinetic.
And now synergy.
So synthesis and synergy, it's sort of, I think they go together.
Absolutely. So you mentioned challenge, you know, and that you challenge people individually. I also understand that you have a project that's coming up called the Hollywood Blackout Project.
Yeah, so right now we're in the midst of a Kickstarter for trying to raise money for a documentary that basically is going to be looking for solutions to the lack of diversity in Hollywood film. So in June, I wrote an open letter to black screenwriters, and it was after I saw this stereotypical, predominantly black film that I was just disappointed, because the first one actually was like pretty good, but then this one, it's kind of like they just took it to a different place. And so from that letter, I got a lot of responses that just said, hey, there's a bunch of, screenwriters out here that are writing, positive films. It's just a matter of actually seeing those films on the big screen. So I decided, this is a conversation that actually needs to be had in a documentary level, where we really just go and talk to actors, directors, producers in Hollywood that are experienced, and say, what's going on? Where's the disconnect? Why aren't we seeing more of these films? There's USC Annenberg just had a study of 600 popular films between 2007 and 2013, and only a quarter of the speaking roles in those films were from underrepresented minorities. So, the stats are there, and really when you go on a Friday to the movie theater, you can see it. So that's what the Hollywood Blackout is about. So definitely, if you look it up on Kickstarter, please support it. And hopefully what I'd like to do is just have a sit-down chat with a lot of experienced people that are in industry, and just have like a state of diversity in cinema panel forum. So that amongst going and interviewing, doing this documentary. So
Sure. Yeah, and that's a way that you're challenging the whole industry.
Yeah.
Not only.
I really want to challenge the industry to be creative, because with this new movie with about Moses with Ramses, it's not being Egyptian. I don't see why you couldn't get an Egyptian actor. There's plenty of them out there. There's so many different films that it's a perfect opportunity to push forward diversity.
Absolutely.
So that's what it's all about.
And it sounds like you're not just focused on seeing a whole lot of different types of faces up there. You're also focused on people being real while they're up there.
Right, exactly.
And I mean, because creativity is also about bringing reality, not stereotypes.
Right.
How do we share reality in a creative way? It's kind of ironic. It's almost like the fantasy is less creative. The fantasy stereotypes that don't really exist are less creative than actually trying to put out what's really there. What's really there in the black community? What's really there in the Middle Eastern community? What's really there in the Latino community, rather than what have we all been told is there?
Exactly. And I think at the end of the day, once we start to see that, then we can understand other cultures better, And that's really what it's all about, instead of, what I know of this culture is what I've seen on TV.
Sure.
So.
Absolutely. I'm curious also if there's anything like hot right now at Synetic or at the Arts Center for what's going on right now. What are your projects right now that the public could take advantage of?
Well, as I mentioned, the Island of Dr. Moreau, it's a really exciting project for us because it features Pada, who is the director, on stage as Dr. Moreau, and he hasn't been on stage for the last 4 or 5 years, so that's really exciting because he's an amazing actor as well. But I think it's a feat of creativity on his part to be both director and one of the main characters.
No kidding.
Directing yourself, that's a special kind of creativity.
If he needs one of us to film it, so he can direct himself, let us know.
Yeah, so that's opening October 1st, so everybody's welcome, and I hope to see a lot of Arlingtonians there.
Absolutely. You might see me there. That sounds very interesting.
Come. You guys should come too.
Definitely.
I'd love to.
Cool. And how about at the Arts Center, like projects now?
Absolutely. So picking up on the idea of really listening to authentic voices, we have a 40th anniversary exhibition up right now. And as we dug into the archives over the past 40 years of exhibitions, we really realized that the Arlington Arts Center has a really strong and I think proud history of looking at social justice issues and responding to them through exhibitions. Nice. So what we did is we picked 4 of our past exhibitions and we invited back the curators, or we invited curators in the community now who are dealing with some of these issues to rethink and represent these exhibitions. So we were one of the first art centers in the area to respond to the AIDS crisis in the 80s.
Wow.
We have an exhibition even before that called Of the Black Experience, which is about Black identity in our community. Exhibition about home and homelessness and transitory communities, as well as a show called Picturing Politics and how artists deal with really political content. And so all of those have been reinvestigated and represented. So we're really looking at our past, but also the future too. We want to keep, we want to honor what we've done over the past 40 years, but we're really looking ahead to what the next generation of artists are doing, what the next group of voices are presenting. So we're pretty proud of that exhibition.
Wonderful. Yeah, and I think creativity in addressing political issues is so powerful, because sometimes people won't listen if you just talk directly about the issue. But if you put it in a spin that's creative or say it in a new way, that can be really powerful.
Absolutely, and I think I think all visual artists, filmmakers, dancers have this sort of intuitive nature of reaching wide audiences on a different level, a level that comes from a common core.
Some of you have touched on this a little bit already, but what drew you personally to your organization?
I've been with the organization for almost 11 years now.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
So I think I really was excited about the innovativeness and unique nature of the theater. I mean, this theater is really doing things that nobody else is doing in DC or even beyond. And so it's getting that rush when you're seeing a show, getting that visceral reaction to the show that's so rare, and being inspired, keeping inspired at work. I think it's very important. And we on administrative side try to sort of mirror that in how we work. Trying to be creative with our resources, make a lot out of nothing. That's common for nonprofits. Yeah,
You got to teach me a little bit about that kind of creativity.
Oh, I have a lot of tips. So.
Okay, creative administration.
Yeah.
How about that?
Yeah.
How about you? I know you touched on it a little bit
Right.
earlier.
Honestly, I grew up loving movies, watching movies. When I went to college, I wasn't one of those kids that was like, oh, I'm going to start out as a psychology major. It was just, no, film. Lead me to the nearest film thing. And so it's always been a passion of mine. And I think that there's no real way to kind of maneuver into Hollywood. Like, everyone will tell you that. And so I just said, you know what, I watch so many films, why not critique them? I've gone to school to do this. And that's kind of the genesis of how Picture Lock started. But, because of that, it's just continuing to kind of snowball and do bigger and better things. So I really enjoy it.
Yeah, it's exciting. You've gotten to meet a lot of interesting people through the show.
Yeah, definitely. The latest, Michelle Monaghan at the GI Film Fest, Fort Bliss, which actually is going to be released, I think, in the next week or so. Meeting her, the director of the DC Film Office, actually, he just had a film that had a nationwide release, so he came on the show. So it's pretty fun. I enjoy it.
And Stefanie with the Arts Center.
Oh, wow. Well, I actually am a trained artist, so I went to school to be an artist, but then found myself on the administrative side, working exhibitions and always in an academic sphere. So when this opportunity came up at the Arlington Arts Center to actually run an organization that really has boots on the ground, artists working in the space, and I knew that, I could really, hopefully, directly impact their work, their lives, keep our community creative. That was of real interest to me. So it's really exciting because it is a community. We support each other. They support one another. And it's what I'd hoped. So working in a building with artists working is the main reason.
Wonderful. So thinking about our viewers, what would you say to people in Arlington who were thinking about getting involved in one way or another with your organization? And let's go ahead and start with Synetic.
Well, Synetic has so many ways that you can participate. Well, first, an easy way is to take classes. We have classes starting age 7 to forever, as you said. And our wonderful company members, actors that teach those classes, really fun, really experienced, and they make it it's physical. It's not just, you know, in your head, but it's physical. So it's your whole body experience. And then on the, you know, volunteer, we have a lot of events that we do. You know, we have ushering opportunities at the theater where you can usher and then see a show for free. And that's always good. We have a, you know, dedicated group, a community, you may say, of ushers who feel really engaged and involved, and they're really important to us.
To be able to see a show for free, that's incredible.
Yeah.
And so much movement too. I can
Yeah.
imagine a lot of kids that I used to work with in schools who would love that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Great, and how about to get involved with Picture Lock
Yeah.
and with the Hollywood Blackout?
Yeah, speaking of free things, so on the website you can subscribe to the e-newsletter, but I definitely give out free passes to movies in the DMV area. So, you know, if you live in this area and you want to check out the film before it hits theaters, sometimes I'm giving contest giveaways. Otherwise, you know, I always ask filmmakers to send in their work on the website. If you want to come on the show, there's a way to do that. And then again, with the Hollywood Blackout, we have about 18 more days. So if you go to Kickstarter and look up the Hollywood Blackout, you'll be able to see it and get behind it. So
Great, and that's, I hope to see that as a documentary in theaters one day soon.
Definitely.
Wonderful. And with getting involved with the Arts Center.
The easiest way, and I'm going to ride the free theme, is our galleries are always free and open to the public. So
Nice.
we're open Wednesday through Friday from 1 to 7. You can just walk in and see what we have in any one of our 9 galleries, and then Saturdays, Sundays 12 to 5. Real casual environment, come in, check what we have going on. We have an artist residence gallery. We've got a community gallery that presents student work and some of the community projects that happen around Arlington, as well as our main exhibitions.
Nice.
And like I said before, classes for 4 to Forever. Come come where you are in terms of your level of art knowledge or ability. And finally, we do a lot of programs that really try to build that bridge. So we've got receptions 4 times a year that bring in up to 500 community members in a night. We open our artist studios those same nights, so you can come in, meet the artists, talk to them.
Mm-hmm.
Lots of different ways to connect with the arts and artists at AAC.
Amazing. Not only do you give free art, but you give opportunities for lessons, and you get to meet the artists.
And free wine and cheese.
Oh boy, everybody's gonna be here now. Well, on that note, I think it's time to wrap up so that I can go get some. We have crackers and cheese. Maybe we'll go out for wine after.
Nice.
But I want to thank you all for joining us on this episode of Meeting Our Needs. And I want you to check out the websites for Synetic Theater, for Picture Lock, and for Arlington Arts Center, so that you can see how you can get involved and meet your own needs for creativity and contribution. Thanks for watching.